Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 201 based on novel. So let's start. The black-haired man rubbed the thunder beast's big head, and his eyes revealed a strange light as he muttered, "I just don't know what kind of treasures will appear in the thunder celestial realm. I fear that the messengers of the thunder celestial temple will be fighting fiercely against each other." He revealed a gloomy expression. The thunder beast below him turned into a ray of lightning and flew off into the distance. Rumor has it that the mysterious heaven-defying bead first appeared in the depths of the asteroid field in southern domain. Because of the appearance of the bead, it caused the thunder here to change and created this thunder lake. This is now the best place to cultivate thunder spells. The man's eyes lit up and he moved even faster. Wang Lin was inside the thunder lake as he muttered the words to the thunder origin spell over and over again. After understanding it, Wang Lin's hand formed a seal and then placed his hands on his knees. He then took a deep breath and closed his eyes. The thunder origin spell used a mysterious method to extract origin energy out of heavenly thunder and make it your own. This kind of spell was extremely rare. Only second-step cultivators would have something like this. It would often be considered a treasure that wouldn't be given out casually. This method focused on thunder entering the body. If one's cultivation level wasn't high enough, it was no different from harming your own body. If one was careless, their origin soul would be damaged, and in serious cases, they would immediately be destroyed. However, this method couldn't be more suitable for Wang Lin. His origin soul was thunder and his new body was made of thunder. In the eyes of the thunder beast, Wang Lin's entire being was just thunder. Shortly after, Wang Lin's hand slowly lifted and his hand formed a seal. With a shake, large amounts of ripples appeared in the air. These ripples were formed by thunder, and they slowly spread out. This shake in reality contained 9 different seals that were produced at extremely high speed. These seals created the ability to attract thunder. Under the loud rumble of the thunder lake, a strand of thunder seemed to be attracted. It seemed to finally have found a point of release and immediately rushed over, attempting to devour everything in its path. However, at the moment it touched Wang Lin, it dissipated and charged into Wang Lin's body. The thunder here was very strong, far beyond ordinary thunder. The moment it entered Wang Lin's body, it surged through his body. Wang Lin's hand quickly performed the thunder origin spell. A huge vortex quickly appeared in his body and constantly rotated. With every rotation, it squeezed out some origin energy from the thunder. This process lasted for a long time. The introduction said that the first time using this spell would be very difficult. On one hand, the body had to resist the thunder, and on the other hand, it would absorb origin energy. It required time to adapt to all of this. However, Wang Lin didn't have to worry about all of this. His flesh and origin soul were already made from thunder. At most the thunder would cause him to feel uncomfortable, but he wouldn't be injured. At this moment, he focused all of his attention on squeezing out origin energy and naturally disregarded the discomfort coming from his body. After a long time, the strand of thunder gradually collapsed under the effect of the thunder origin spell, leaving behind a trace amount of impure origin energy. There was simply too little origin energy, so much so that it was impossible to detect if one wasn't looking carefully. However, Wang Lin treasured it like a treasure and was excited from the bottom of his heart. For a first-step cultivator, origin energy was a luxury. Only when one reaches the ascendant can they have the opportunity to obtain some, and it was impossible to gain or recover more. Forming origin energy from the world required spells from second-step cultivators. If it wasn't for a series of fortuitous coincidences, Wang Lin won't have been able to do this. He suppressed the ecstasy and excitement in his heart and carefully cycled the impure origin energy toward his origin soul. Once there, it will have the impurity refined from it. Although the origin energy remaining will be even less, it will become something that can be used by him. This was an extremely critical moment, so Wang Lin didn't dare to be careless. He slowly controlled his impure origin energy into his origin soul. However, just at this moment, a sudden change occurred. This change caught Wang Lin unprepared, so he didn't have time to control it. The moment the trace of impure origin energy touched his origin soul, it became like a runaway wild horse and moved violently. It drilled into his origin soul, but instead of fusing with the origin soul, it charged to the location of the heaven-defying bead. This trace of impure origin energy fused with the heaven-defying bead in an instant. A thunderous roar that people the outside couldn't hear, but Wang Lin could hear clearly echoed inside his body. It was as if he was hit mercilessly by a large mountain. Wang Lin's face instantly became pale, his origin soul shook, and even his body unceasingly trembled. The heaven-defying bead inside his body didn't listen to Wang Lin's command. It slowly floated out from between his eyebrows. Wang stared at the scene before him and his mind trembled. The heaven-defying bead appeared once more. This time, as soon as it came out from Wang Lin's body, the entire Thunder Lake became violent and strands of thunder dragons immediately charged out. This caused a large amount of fluctuations which in turn caused the asteroids to be affected and give off powerful thunder. This caused the Celestial Guard to retreat until it was far away to not be affected. Even the Thunder Beast was awakened by the change in the thunder. It subconsciously retreated and didn't dare to close in. Wang Lin looked at the heaven-defying bead in the sky. The confusion in his eyes became even stronger. The countless thunder dragons whistled out from all directions. The dragons charged in one by one into the heaven-defying bead. This scene was extremely shocking, and it completely startled Wang Lin. The heaven-defying bead slowly turned, and with every turn it would absorb a large amount of thunder. A violet light slowly formed around the bead. Wang Lin was too familiar with this scene. Not long ago, this exact same thing happened. The violet light became blinding and suddenly spread out. The mysterious restriction appeared once more. At the same time, the huge door appeared before Wang Lin's eyes. All of this was simply too bizarre, and it shocked Wang Lin greatly. He didn't know that the heaven bead first appeared here. All of the mysterious changes that occurred here were caused by the appearance of the heaven-defying bead. Wang Lin had inadvertently made his way here and brought the heaven-defying bead back to where it originally appeared. It could be said that karma was involved in his. However, this wasn't completely unintentional. In fact, when Wang Lin was injured and he sought this place out, it wasn't just due to the characteristics of the Thunder Dragon. An even more hidden reason was the heaven-defying bead. The heaven-defying bead was the only thing that had fused with Wang Lin's origin soul and no longer existed physically, so it had the ability to influence Wang Lin's origin soul. In fact, the comfortable feeling was from the heaven-defying bead. If only that was the case, it wouldn't have been a big deal. The incomplete heaven-defying bead hadn't recognized an owner yet, so even if Wang Lin had brought it here, it wouldn't have had any changes. However, when the 5 elements were complete, the heaven-defying bead changed. When the huge door appeared, it meant that Wang Lin had activated the heaven-defying bead for the first time. This activation meant that the bead had recognized an owner. Afterward, Wang Lin absorbed the heaven-defying bead and came here. The moment it touched the thunder here, a change occurred. If any of these factors were missing, the heaven-defying bead wouldn't have had changed like this. In the countless years since the heaven-defying bead had come into being, Wang Lin was the only one to reach this step. The giant door appeared once more. The violet light caused the world and even the Thunder Lake to turn purple. The thunder became purple thunder. The appearance of the door caused the sense of awe to appear in his body once more. Although he had already resisted it once, his body still trembled slightly, but his eyes remained unyielding. As the violet light shined everywhere, the giant arm outside the door appeared once more. However, it made Wang Lin's heart skip a beat this time. The moment the arm appeared, a large amount of purple lightning immediately charged toward it. Countless strands of thunder wrapped around the arm as if they had subdued it. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and stared at the arm. After pondering for a bit, he clenched his teeth, jumped into the air, and charged toward the giant door. If this arm wasn't locked by the thunder, Wang Lin wouldn't have chosen to enter it. However, he felt that if he missed this once-in-a-lifetime chance, he would never be able to see the secret beyond the door. Although his speed was bad, he left himself a way out. If the arm broke free of the thunder, he would immediately turn and flee. He was getting closer and closer. The arm began to move, but the thunder around it was like a metal chain that held it down. This caused the Amo to slow down. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as his speed increased and he charged at the door like a bolt of thunder. At the moment he got close, the door opened up by a small gap. At the moment the gap opened, the world stopped. Wang Lin's body also stopped outside the gap. His eyes opened widely, and at this moment, it was as if his mind was sucked into the door. Everything Wang Lin saw caused him to tremble violently. It was as if his origin soul had left his body, as he could no longer feel his body. His whole being seemed to exist in endless chaos. This place is the heaven-defying bead space. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed as he immediately recognized this place. He was too familiar with this place. It was filled with chaos and occasionally there would be balls of light glowing. The balls of light immediately began to change as if his gaze was a catalyst. The balls of light he was looking at suddenly swelled up. They swelled up too fast, in the blink of an eye, they were already huge. Wang Lin was stunned as the balls of light were now as big as a planet. A powerful aura came out from the balls of light. This aura was filled with vitality. This vitality was extremely pure, as if it was a newborn baby. Shortly after, clouds of dust appeared and were absorbed by the light. Soon, they began to condense and formed landmasses. Some of the dust formed rivers and oceans. Wang Lin gasped. This was a planet. The spiritual energy coming from it was very rich. Aside from not having any mortals living on it, it was no different from any other cultivation planet outside. While he was shocked, the planet immediately began to degrade as if time was reverting itself. In the blink of an eye, it was once more a ball of light becoming smaller and smaller until it was only flickering. Wang Lin's mind gradually lost consciousness as the ball of light changed. He was completely immersed in this familiar yet foreign space. Time slowly passed as if there was no endpoint. Wang Lin seemed to have forgotten everything. He was in a strange state as he drifted in this endless space. He would always see the strange scene with the balls of light before his eyes. As he continued to watch this scene, Wang Lin could slowly feel a mysterious power build up. This power was everywhere, and he subconsciously wanted to search for its source. He didn't realize how similar this scene was to when he was comprehending the heavens and seeking to find the origin of the life and death domain. As he subconsciously searched for the source of this power, time passed, but he didn't care. Eons passed, but he didn't stop. It was as if he had become a wandering spirit, always pursuing. Wang Lin was seeking Tao. Following the steps of Tao and seeking the end of Tao. It was as if everything in the world had become the distance past. It was as if everything had shattered and become nothing. They could no longer cause any waves in his heart. Those who seek Tao understand in the morning and are dead by dusk, regrettable. Those who seek Tao understand during death, pitiful. There was no end to the search. Wang Lin had seen countless balls of light turn into a planet and then back into nothing. Every time this happened, he wanted to seize that trace of Tao. However, he failed to touch it every time, but he gradually felt like he was getting closer and closer to that trace of Tao. The Tao was only there for a moment before it disappeared once more. Wang Lin seemed to have found a clue during his confused search. The mysterious power he was seeking seemed to be something that was beyond the existence of law. This awareness was very light, but it left a deep impression. It had always been there since the beginning. The Tao seemed to be where his gaze was, but at the moment he moved his gaze, the Tao would seem to disappear. This was a very vague feeling, but it slowly flowed into Wang Lin's body. He gradually felt like he was catching up to the Tao's footprints and was about to grasp the source of the mysterious power. During this process, in which there was no concept of time, Wang Lin saw a planet. This planet wasn't formed by the balls of light and existed naturally. The vitality from this planet was very weak, but it was filled with warmth and tenderness. Beside this planet were two smaller planets. They were very close and each gave off a sense of attachment. At the moment Wang Lin closed in, one of the smaller planets gave off a ripple. It seemed to be filled with joy, giving off a powerful emotion. At the moment Wang Lin saw the three planets, his mind trembled as he discovered something. He subconsciously wanted to raise his hand, but he didn't notice that in his current state, he didn't even have a body. However, his hand still appeared. It was as if all he needed to do was think and it would materialize. His hand gently moved and a ripple appeared in the void. Under this ripple, the 3 planets immediately turned into 3 rays of light and entered Wang Lin's hand. Wang Lin stopped seeking Tao. In his trance-like state, it felt as if he was the Tao right now. As he stopped, his mind slowly calmed down. Then his entire body subconsciously turned into a ball of light. As time passed, the ball of light he had turned into gradually expanded. He absorbed the surrounding dust and eventually a planet appeared. The mountains on this planet were spectacular and the rivers were beautiful. The earth was filled with energy, and even the sea was as blue as the sky, as if it could accommodate the world. In the northern part of the planet there was only one family. One man and one woman who lived a quiet and peaceful life. It was as if they could have everything they wanted, including the countless mortals in the surrounding villages. On this day, a ray of light passed by the southern part of the planet. Inside the ray of light was a woman wearing white. The woman was beautiful and as gentle as water. Her black hair flowed in the air. Sometimes a few strands would get in front and she would tuck the hair behind her ear with her jade-like hands. As she flew, her eyes were filled with confusion. She looked down at the earth as she bit her lower lip and muttered, "Why does this world give me such a familiar feeling?" She pondered for a long time before shaking her head. Her figure moved like a ray of light and disappeared over the horizon. "I want to find the answer." The wind carried the woman's decisive voice. Time slowly passed as if it would last forever. Countless years passed and everything gradually changed. The only things that never changed were the 3 people. 2 of them still lived a quiet life and the last one was still looking for an answer. It wasn't until the end that the Tao finally arrived. The Earth disappeared and the planet no longer existed. The 3 people turned back into 3 balls of light and then were caught inside a huge palm which then drifted far away. As the palm dissipated, Wang Lin consciousness appeared. "So this is Tao," Wang Lin's voice echoed in the void. Everything he was searching for ended with himself. He himself was Tao. The heaven and earth were made up of countless Tao. He was Tao. Before him were countless balls of light changing from life to death and from death to life. This was his life and death Tao. In the karmic cycle, if there was karmic effect, then there was karmic cause, such as Li Muwen's search for answers and Wang Ping's ordinary life. This was his karma Tao. For an instant, Wang Lin felt like he understood something, but at the same time he understood nothing. This kind of confusion was like a wave rocking in his mind. This wave became more and more intense until it caused his mind to tremble. He awakened. The moment he regained clarity, he felt like his origin soul would be pushed outside violently. When he opened his eyes, he was still outside the door. Nothing around him had changed. The thunder still rumbled and the violet light still covered the area. It was as if everything that had happened didn't happen at all. Wang Lin was still before the gate, and everything that happened was just his dream. So unreal and yet so real. The door that had only opened a gap slowly closed before his eyes and dissipated. The huge arm wrapped by the purple light also disappeared. The violet light contracted and changed back into the heaven-defying bead. There was mysterious change to the heaven-defying bead. Before, it had the 5 elements engraved on it. Now they were replaced by yin and yang. Yin was represented by a moon and yang was represented by a Sunday. Each covered half the heaven-defying bead and were distinct from each other. It floated toward Wang Lin's forehead and entered the spot between his eyebrows. Wang Lin was still standing motionlessly in the air and his eyes slowly closed. The scenes from before still echoed in his mind. He vaguely became aware of something. He seemed to have once more forgotten about the passage of time and was only immersed in the comprehension in his heart that continued to echo in his mind. He carved the unreal dream bit by bit into his heart. Wang Lin knew that everything inside the dream was extremely precious. This was a heavenly opportunity. He couldn't tell anyone about the dream, and he wouldn't be able to explain it clearly anyway. He was actually afraid of telling anyone. He had a feeling that the All-Seer and company would be willing to give up everything for this opportunity. Even if it meant giving up planet Qianyun, giving up all their magical treasures and spells. The All-Seer and company wouldn't have hesitated at all to have a chance to seek Tao like this. Because this Tao seeking would open up that mysterious third step that tens of thousands cultivators were striving and craving for. Those who seek Tao understand in the morning and are dead by dusk. Those who seek Tao understand during death. Wang Lin still didn't know the value of the heaven-defying bead, but just the tip of the iceberg that he had seen shocked him greatly. This was something he would never forget. This seeking of Tao didn't cause his cultivation level to increase, but it refined his Tao. Before, when Wang Lin stood under the door, he felt a deep sense of awe from his soul. This was because of the difference in levels, just like how people appear in an ant's eyes. Although Wang Lin wasn't at the same level of existence as the door and he was still an ant in comparison, he was an ant that had seen the third step. He had seen the third step. While immersed in his thoughts, the thunder lake under Wang Lin seemed to be affected by something. A large amount of thunder began to spread in all directions. At this moment, a ray of thunder flew through the asteroid field. Inside the ray of thunder was a thunder beast in black armor. On the back of the thunder beast was the black-haired man. His eyes were filled with caution as he charged into the depths of the asteroid field. When he arrived near the asteroid field, he immediately noticed that something was wrong. The fluctuations of the thunder here were too violent, very different from the last time he was here. This thunder even contained an incredibly powerful aura. This shocked the black-haired man and made him extremely cautious. He slowly made his way through the asteroid field. He was very familiar with this place because he had been here many times to cultivate the thunder origin spell, but never had he been so on guard. He moved quickly, and after an unknown amount of time, he gradually grew closer to the center. The closer he got, the stronger that feeling of shock became. What exactly happened over there? The black-haired man's expression was gloomy. His cultivation level was at the corporeal yang stage, and he only needed a bit more to reach completion, and then he could enter the nirvana scrya stage. With his cultivation level, there weren't many things that could make him feel like this. However, at this moment, this feeling became even stronger. After hesitating for a bit, he clenched his teeth and the thunder beast charged through the last layer of asteroids. He soon spotted the familiar thunder lake before him. He immediately saw Wang Lin above the thunder lake. The current Wang Lin was simply too strange in the black-haired man's eyes. Wang Lin was floating in the air, a large amount of thunder was moving through his body, and his hair was moving without any wind. The size of the thunder lake caused the black-haired man to gasp. The thunder lake before him made him felt like he had come to the wrong place. It was actually half the size of when he last came to this place. It looked endless before, but now it felt like he could almost see the other side. This person's appearances was like a stone thrown into calm water, creating countless ripples. Wang Lin slowly opened his eyes. This was a pair of indescribable eyes. They seemed to contain the world and all the laws of the world. It was as this pair of eyes could see through the heavens and earth. It gave off a shocking feeling, just like the huge arm that appeared before the door. This kind of feeling would shock anyone who saw it, and it make them feel awe as if they were only an ant. This pair of eyes contained some remnants of Wang Lin's unreal dream. At this moment, it was as if he was the heavens and earth, he was the heavenly Tao. This was the aura of the third step. Wang Lin's eyes were not focused and were filled with confusion as he casually looked at the black-haired man. This gaze caused the black-haired man to feel like countless thunderbolts had just exploded inside him. It was as if he had absorbed more thunder than he could handle with the thunder origin spell. His entire body seemed to have been fixed in place at this moment, and Wang Lin's eyes were the only things that existed in his world. At this instant, only this gaze existed in his life. Thunder rumbled in his ears, but it felt like it was very far away. He could clearly hear it, but not feel it. He couldn't understand what kind of gaze it was, but this gaze contained a mysterious force far beyond his comprehension. This power directly tore through his eyes and shook his entire being. His heartbeat reached a limit as if it was about to explode. All of the blood in his body circulated like crazy along with his origin energy. He was completely horrified. It was as if he would collapse under this gaze if he didn't cycle his origin energy. What power is this? The black-haired man wasn't able to move his body an inch. The origin energy in his energy cycled like crazy. Even if the origin energy dissipated or was wasted, he couldn't be bothered with that anymore. His mouth was dry and his body was long ago soaked in sweat. However, he just couldn't shift his eyes away from this crazy gaze. With his cultivation, this was the first time in his life he had felt something so terrifying. He wasn't this terrified even when he met the Lord of the Thunder Celestial Temple. Wang Lin calmly looked at the black-haired man. There was trace of his Tao-seeking in his eyes. He only saw a person, but right now it didn't matter if they were cultivators or mortals. With that trace of comprehension in Wang Lin's eyes, the other person seemed like only an ant to him. While in the dream of seeking Tao, his gaze was the Tao that caused the balls of light to quickly go through an entire life cycle. He carried the gaze he had during that dream when he looked at the black-haired man. This person was like the balls of light in the dream. However, instead of quickly expanding, this person was quickly dissipating. The person dissipated layer by layer and didn't stop. The terror in the black-haired man's eyes had reached a limit. He had never experienced such a crisis of life and death. From the moment the gaze landed on him, he could feel his origin soul burning. The origin energy in his body seemed to have lost control and formed an invisible flame. The other person's gaze contained a terrifying power that he was unable to resist. It was as if the heavens were telling him to die, die. It was as if he was an ant, and a sense of awe had filled his entire body. Not only him, the thunder beast under him felt this even more strongly. It let out miserable cries and its body began to dissipate at a visible speed as if dirt returning to the earth. All of this happened in an instant. The cloudiness in Wang Lin's eyes disappeared, then he took a deep breath and closed his eyes. The black-haired man's body almost collapsed when he awakened from the terrifying power. He was soaked in sweat and more than half of the origin energy in his body was gone. His origin soul has shrunk one size and he was extremely weak. As he stared at Wang Lin, terror filled his mind. Too terrifying. This? What kind of gaze was that? What cultivation level is he at? The black-haired man gasped, his body trembled, and his face turned completely pale. He regretted coming here. If he hadn't come here, he wouldn't have had to experience that terrifying gaze just now. He didn't doubt that if that mysterious person had looked at him for a few breaths longer, he would have collapsed. After that he would have disintegrated and all traces of him would have been destroyed. He wouldn't even have been able to escape with his origin soul. The thunder beast under him was even worse off, and it looked at Wang Lin with terror in its eyes. The pride of thunder beasts made them prefer to die than yield. However, that gaze was not as simple as death, it was a suppression from a higher level. This video will end here.